Hey everyone, welcome to my Tactica on the Duke of Marlborough. So, this is a series that I was running on my own channel, but I wasn't really trying to build my channel or anything, I was just doing it for my own enjoyment. So I talked to Devin at Nova, and he said, hey, why don't you put it on our channel and get it out to the world, and at the same time, enjoy doing it for yourself. So I said, yeah, it sounds like a great idea. So that's what we're doing now, and you can expect one of these Tacticas about once a month, as long as it's running well, and I'm sure if it's not running well, they'll be taken down. So I hope you guys like them anyway. Moving into it, I wanted to talk about the Duke of Marlborough this month. He was a British general from the 18th and 17th century, and he was really known as the best soldier of his time. Later on, down his family chain comes Winston Churchill as well, who ends up writing about him later. So the Duke of Marlborough, actually, he started in a poor family, ended up working for the Duke of York in the military, and working his way up to becoming the Duke of Marlborough himself. I'm not going to talk about his life very much, but I am going to talk about the War of the Spanish Succession, and also one of the key battles, the Battle of Blenheim. Then we can talk about all the SBG fun that we want, and I've got three specific principles that I want to lay out that I've been able to pull from the Duke of Marlborough, and then we'll wrap it up, and yeah, we'll have a good time. So the War of the Spanish Succession, which happened in the 18th century, actually started when the King of Spain died and left Spain itself to Louis XIV's nephew. Louis XIV took over power of Spain, and he was already in war with many countries of Europe and looking to gain territory. So at the time he was at war with Great Britain, the Holy Roman Empire, and Portugal. And so the three allies really fought against France on their own, never joining forces, until the Duke of Marlborough took control of the British forces. The Duke of Marlborough joined with the British forces in the Spanish Netherlands, where he was facing France. Now, the big thing that I want to talk about in the War of the Spanish Succession is the march of the Duke of Marlborough, which happened like this. So, the Duke of Marlborough took control of the forces in the Spanish Netherlands, which is where the Netherlands are now, and the French expected an immediate attack. Instead of an immediate attack, the Duke of Marlborough wakes up at 3 in the morning, wakes up his troops, and says, let's march south. And so the French army follows him, leaving the Spanish Netherlands completely safe, because there's no more military there threatening them. Then again, the French think that the English are going to come across the Rhine River to attack them. Instead, the British again wake up at 3 in the morning and march south. This happens for 400 kilometers before finally the Duke of Marlborough reveals his hand. He joins up with Prince Eugene of the Holy Roman Empire, and instead of turning right and crossing the Rhine into France, he turns left and crosses into Bavaria. Now, Bavaria had just defected to the French side of the alliance, and before the French have time to attack, the Duke of Marlborough and Prince Eugene of the Holy Roman Empire demolish the Bavarian army. Now, France eventually catches up with the Duke and Eugene in Bavaria, and then that follows into the Battle of Blenheim. So the Battle of Blenheim goes like this. There was 60,000 French and 80 French guns. Then there was 56,000 Allied forces and 50 guns. And so obviously the Allies were going to have to come to the French, and anyone who plays SBG knows that it's no fun chasing a wood elf force, but it was the same deal. The French had the Allies completely outgunned, and so they ended up taking 3 strongholds in those 3 cities that you can see on the map. Now, the British, instead of doing the classic move, fire, decided to march quickly into each of those fortified locations. They did not fare very well at any of those fortified locations, But the important thing was they held the French down. The French weren't able to leave the cities because the British were attacking them. And so their own fortifications became a trap. Then, with most of the garrison troops in the cities, the French line was weak and ready for plunder. Now, nothing would have worked out if the British cavalry hadn't become so much better than the French cavalry by this time. The British cavalry had really mastered the charge with saber tactics and using momentum to break the line. That's why you can see in this image the French red box is retreating at the middle right, and the British moving forward, because that's the cavalry charge. And so as the line breaks, all of a sudden you can see the British cavalry turning and surrounding the French villages. Now, as the French villages become surrounded, the French then have to surrender and call for parley. Now, rumor has it that when the French called for parley, they even had more troops on the battlefield still than what the British had. But because they were surrounded, they were in such bad position that it was ultimately going to end in failure no matter what they did. Now, there's obviously so much that you can take from someone like the Duke of Marlborough and put into really any battle tactics game, but I found 3 things that I wanted to look at specifically, and then I'll probably mention a few things at the end. So one is match the matchups and delay the rest of the army. This is one that I learned when I was playing Warhammer Fantasy because I played Empire. The idea that you slow down the enemy in one part of the field so that you can use your strongest synergies on one small piece of the opponent's army. Once you destroy that, you move on to another piece, and so on. This really ends up in a snowball effect where eventually you can destroy the army if you've chosen your pieces correctly and have done and delayed things properly. The second one is being willing to do what you have to do. Most players know what they have to do in the game, but sometimes things like just sheer not wanting to play to the opponent's army or miscalculation in judgment makes you delay what you have to do to win the game. And so not delaying, being willing to spend resources to do things quickly and efficiently, and the real worth of that is important, and learn that from the Duke of Marlborough. And then the last one is resources are found in unexpected places. The Duke of Marlborough actually, instead of having his armies plunder the towns that he was going through, he paid farmers to pay his armies. This kept his armies really well stocked and well fed and ready for fighting time. So they were actually more well stocked than the French armies when they met at the Battle of Blenheim. The first example that I wanted to talk about was the Wood Elf list that I brought to Nova. And so I brought Haldir, some Wood Elves, Boromir, Aragorn, Galadriel, Lady of Light, and Legolas. My opponent brought Imrahil, Fiefdom's troops, Forlong, and Dunir. And so he had a lot of troops. And basically, I had to use Haldir and my Wood Elves to hold down Imrahil, the only one who could stop Boromir, Aragorn, Galadriel, or really Legolas. And so I delayed him for the whole game with that one hero and my troops. Meanwhile, my strike force was able to clean up more than half of the fiefdom troops all by themselves. Because that one stumbling block was held up, and that made a huge difference, and eventually we ended up tying the game. Now we were playing high ground. I had way fewer troops than what he did. I was pretty worried, and I was pretty happy to end up with a tie. I don't think I need to say much more about that. The synergy between those 4 heroes just was amazing, and putting that synergy in the right place made all the difference. Now the second principle comes in a game that I played in the Peterborough tournament here in Ontario. I brought a Wood Elf list with Legolas on horse and Galadriel, Lady of Light. My opponent brought Elrond, some other High Elf heroes, and a bunch of High Elves. Now, he didn't realize that Galadriel had Blinding Light when he placed his troops down, and so he realized he was going to have to play a different game than what he wanted to play. He wanted to shoot me and have an elf shoot off. Well, Galadriel doesn't really allow for that, and so he was going to have to charge in on me. Instead of charging in, he backed off, and got out of range. This gave me a chance to use Legolas on his horse to go around and ping some wounds off of him before he got into combat. Well, I killed probably 6 wounds worth with Legolas, and then he finally decided to charge in. I think my opponent knew what he had to do. He knew he was going to have to charge me eventually, but it just, he delayed in doing it, and that gave me that extra edge. The last one I made a slide for was the resources found in unexpected places. This was another game that we played in Nova, and this was my my doubles force with Adam Marcel from Blackfire Productions. So I had Haldir, which is that small pink dot. He had 3 Urukai. The black mark is the objective, and Adam Marcel brought the eagle. So we had to take the objective by the end of the game if we wanted to win, and he has 3 models by the objective. And we didn't want to share the objective, so we had to kill his models. The eagle was going to have to kill both of them. No, the eagle can probably do it, but Adam got more creative than that. When we charged in and the eagle won the combat, Adam chose to use barge instead of hurl or anything like that. So because he uses barge, Adam actually gets to choose which directions the Uruk-hai barge back to, and then he gets to move in again and get another chance. So another chance to kill. So he did end up pushing the Uruk-hai far enough away from the objective that we won the objective with the eagle and Haldir within 3 inches, and he had 1 Uruk-hai within 3 inches. I just think that's such a great example of resources being found in unexpected places. So I didn't know that the way that barge worked like that. My opponent didn't know the way that barge worked like that. But Adam had done a lot of research into his army, and he was ready to use different attributes in ways that were completely unexpected. And guys, that is how you win games. If you can outthink your opponent, use your models for more uses than what your opponent can think of to use his models for, dexterity wins games. And that's my Tactica on the Duke of Marlborough, guys. I hope you really enjoyed it. I wanted to talk about a few more principles, like the idea that spending resources to take field position is 100% worth it. I could just picture Prince Eugene calling a heroic march 3 or 4 times to get in on those cities in the Battle of Blenheim. And field position, I mean, it's so important. You can't talk enough about field position, so I'm sure I'll be talking about it more in later Tacticas. And I think I did hit on it in my last one with Hannibal Barca, talking about negative space. So check that one out if you get a chance. But I hope you guys really enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribe to the DCHL channel. Check out some other videos that I'm making at other channels as well, like Blackfire Productions, where I'm doing my video blog. And you can check out my own channel too for some past videos. I hope you guys really enjoyed it, and I hope you have a happy hobbiting. See you guys.